Happy Saturday, everyone. I'm Leslie Frank with Frank Family Vineyards. It's a gorgeous day here in Napa Valley, even though we're inside at Treposti. I get confused because we're with Chef Nash today, and he has a couple of businesses going on here in Napa Valley. We're here at Treposti Catering and Events in St. Helena. It's a gorgeous day outside. The skies are blue. The smoke is cleared. It's a beautiful fall day. And what better day to talk about the flavors of fall with our curated menu by Chef Nash Cognetti, the executive chef here, and the wines that are made by our own winemaker extraordinaire, Todd Graff. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you.
So, Chef, I'm going to start with you. You curated this menu, and you're going to cook, and Todd and I are going to assist. We're going to cook along, I guess. You're going to teach us a few things as we learn how to cook, talk about this great menu, and Todd will talk about the wines, and we'll sip along as we're cooking.
Deal.
All right. So I just want to remind everyone at home, many of you are repeat guests, and we love that. So hello to everyone who typically tunes into our virtual tastings on these Saturday afternoons. We're doing a couple times a month, every other week, every 3 weeks, something along those lines, when we feel that there's something that we can really offer you and something that's interesting. And now we're getting into the fall now officially, and this would be a good time to talk about fall dishes and how some of our wines pair with those fall menu items. But it doesn't work if we don't get your comments and questions. And of course, we want you to stick around, so we always offer a few trivia questions. We want you to listen, pay attention, because we love to give out gift certificates that you can use on the Frank Family Vineyards website. $100 gift certificates towards the purchase of wine and merchandise. And before we get too far into this, Nash, I do want to introduce Kelsey Harras with our marketing team. She's here to moderate and to watch out for those Q&As, and also to tell us who the winners will be of those trivia questions when we get to them. Hi, Kelsey.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Leslie.
Okay. So let's get to it, Nash. What are we starting with?
Okay, we're doing it. A $100 gift certificate. If I knew that, I would have gone in the trivia contest right there. That's pretty cool.
The problem is you're going to know all the answers to the trivia.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
correct.
it just wouldn't be fair.
That's cool.
But
that's great.
We know some people at Frank Family, so we can hook you up with what you need.
So we're doing 3 dishes here. We're doing 3 dishes in the spirit of autumn and fall, and it's crazy right now that next week is October. I feel like
I know, but it's good, isn't it? Because we kind of want to get to the end of 2020.
We want to get to the end of 2020, but I feel like we're in fall already. So that's kind of cool for a chef, because at this point in time, September and October, we still have summer vegetables like tomatoes and zucchini and that sort of thing. But then we start to see fall vegetables as well, like Brussels sprouts, celery root, that sort of thing. So we're kind of, jiving in 2 different directions, but we're going to jump into autumn here, and the first dish we're going to do is an autumn salad.
Love it.
And I'm going to have you help me do the vinaigrette, okay? So all these recipes are available on the Frank Family website.
Roll up my sleeves.
And obviously you guys are tuning in on this, so if you want to do these later, do them later. If you want to cook along with us right now, awesome. I hope you're cooking along with us. And Leslie's going to help me make a vinaigrette. Have you ever made a vinaigrette before?
Yes, but not this particular vinaigrette.
Okay.
And I've done it with just olive oil, and I know we have some olive oil, but this has some other interesting oils as well.
Totally. So we're going to do this by hand.
Okay.
If you wanted to, you could use one of those little like biz boat motory things to do it.
I don't own one of those.
Okay. Good. You're doing it old school. So in my little bowl right here, I just put a little bit of whole grain mustard. You can see underneath my bowl, Leslie, this is my little trick. If you've ever tried to whisk something on the tabletop, your bowl kind of spins around and whisks around.
Yeah, or ends up down the front of you.
So if you take a wet towel and you twist it up and you stick the bowl right in there, then when you go to whisk it up, the bowl doesn't move.
Oh, nice.
Right? So that's a little trick so we don't bang bowls around on the tabletop. So I put some honey in there, and I put a little bit of whole grain mustard in there. I've got apples.
Am I supposed to be doing this?
No, but you're going to do it, trust me.
Okay.
I've got some apple cider vinegar in there. So do me a favor and just kind of whisk that all together.
And is there a...
While you're doing it? No, that's perfect.
Okay.
I added a little bit of salt and pepper to that.
This is a great trick.
Now what we're going to do is do something called an emulsification. So I'm going to add this oil in a steady stream.
As I keep stirring?
As you keep stirring, and we'll just create our little vinaigrette right now. So this is a fall salad, so it's going to go with pears and celery root. We're making a toasted walnut vinaigrette.
My hand's getting tired.
Yeah, see, this is the tough part about working in a kitchen right here. That was a good move. You got to switch hands right there. So we're making an emulsified vinaigrette, so it'll be like kind of creamy, and it'll really coat those lettuces. And then I've got a cheese called Humboldt Fog.
I know it.
Which is a goat cheese. It's got kind of like this ashy rind that runs through the middle of it. I think it's a great wine pairing.
So we can
yeah, there you go.
You're
doing fantastic, by the way, right now.
Right.
You're nailing it. And so what I did actually was I froze that cheese solid, and you'll see why later when I go to plate the salad, you'll see why I froze the cheese.
Okay.
And this little thing is walnut oil, about 2 tablespoons of walnut oil. So I used about 1 1/4 cups of olive oil there, about 1/2 cup of vinegar, and a couple tablespoons of walnut oil because that stuff is really strong.
All right.
Okay, and so we're making a
Keep going.
walnut vinaigrette. Yeah, you basically got it at the end. I got some little toasted walnuts.
Those are pretty big chunks.
Those are pretty big chunks because when we're eating the salad, we want to have like a little crunch inside there. So what I'm trying to do here, much like my buddy Todd is, you're good.
You didn't tell me to stop. I kept going.
Much like my buddy Todd, when he's making wine, he's looking for a balance of flavors here. So when we're cooking food, we're looking for a balance of flavors as well. So far in this, we've got acid from the vinegar.
Right.
We've got a little bit of sweetness from the honey. We've got that little sort of like umami sort of thing that's coming from the mustard, right? You saw me add a little bit of salt to that, okay? Walnuts naturally have a little bit of bitterness, so we're kind of hitting on all the different flavor elements right now. And then, of course, when we shave that goat cheese on top, it's going to add that really creamy kind of umami kind of saltiness going on. The other thing I'm looking for in a salad is texture.
Okay.
So I want to have something fresh, like the pears, fresh, cold pears. I want to have something crunchy, like those walnuts. I want to have something creamy like the goat cheese. That way when you eat the salad, it's fun. You kind of like get these different flavors in every bite. So at the end, I'm just going to kind of add those walnuts in and mix them together.
All right.
And that's our walnut vinaigrette.
So why wouldn't you just put the walnuts on the salad and then pour the dressing over?
You could do that.
You really want to coat the walnuts?
You could do that, but what I'm trying to do there too is like kind of like soften those walnuts up a little bit in that vinaigrette too, so that they're not just like so raw kind of thing. And so what the plan here with the food is, we're going to make all the components of the food, and then at the end we're going to come back and we're going to assemble it. So just like you're cooking a dinner at your house, we're kind of doing all the prep work ahead of time right now. And then at the end, when people show up, we say, okay, let's make the salad, let's plate the duck breast, and here's our dessert.
Everybody has their job.
Exactly.
All right.
So we're kind of doing the different elements here.
Okay.
So there's our vinaigrette, and we're going to come back to the salad in a second.
Okay.
And we're going to kind of jump into the second course. But first, my buddy Todd is going to talk a little bit about the Chardonnay.
Excellent.
That's going with that salad course.
So this may be perhaps the easiest food pairing I've ever done with Chardonnay because we should get Chef Nash to write the tasting notes. So let's see, we have pear, we have roasted nuts, cheese, creaminess. This screams Carnero Chardonnay for us. We'd add some maybe apple in our Chardonnay, and that's about it. But the cool Carneros, apple, pear, so these white fruits, the toasted nuts from the barrel fermentation, the French oak, the partial malolactic, the creaminess. I couldn't imagine a better pairing. And every time you were describing your dish, it was just what's in this glass. So this is perfect.
And the acid component as well, when he's talking about the vinegar,
yes, exactly.
providing a little acid.
This was the easiest thing we can do. So I hope all the courses go this way. I just repeat what you say.
Easy right there, right? Okay, so are you ready?
I guess.
We're going to cook duck breast.
Okay.
Have you ever cooked a duck breast before?
No, I haven't. And,
Okay.
and I'm going to tell you why. Because duck, I like it. I think I'm going to love it the way you prepare it. Rich, my husband, as you know, is a big fan of duck. But you know what? I can be converted. Let's cook the duck breast.
Okay, so we're gonna do a fall spiced duck breast here, and these are Sonoma duck breasts. They come from Liberty Farms, and so these are fantastic local duck breasts. We're in autumn, that's why I picked doing duck in autumn. So I'm gonna season these duck breasts up a little bit. I'm just doing salt on there and a little bit of black pepper. See how I'm seasoning that?
Yeah.
Like from a height right there? It's a nightmare for people that have to sweep after me. But like that's how you get like an even amount of seasoning on the duck breast.
It just distributes better that way.
Right?
Yes.
And so it's not like if I was really close, I get these little clumps of sauce and salt in there. If I'm doing it from up high, it gets a nice even seasoning. And so here I've got a little fall spice mixture as well. I think we have a question as I'm spicing it.
Take it away. We're getting some questions.
Before we dive into the duck breast, as we moved into the salad, I just wanted to let you know, Leslie, that Elizabeth McQuiston and Krista Carberry, the Delaware and Pennsylvania girls, are watching, and they said, "Go, Leslie, go. You're doing such a good job at that salad." So great job. We have lots of other visitors, viewers watching us right now. And yes, I also wanted to say that the recipes are online, as Chef mentioned, so we will have those up on our blog after the viewing. So be sure to stay tuned so you can try these recipes at home and keep watching. This duck breast is going to be great. I'm very excited. So thanks for tuning in, guys.
Fantastic.
Back to you guys.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank
you. For those of you, I just want to say where Chef Nash's recipes can be found, Kelsey mentioned on the blog. That's on our website, frankfamilyvineyards.com. And if you go to the bottom, you'll see the blog. Click on that, and you'll find the recipes there, as well as some great articles and videos of what's happening at Frank Family and updates on harvest and lots of information, lots of things that are going on at the winery. Okay.
Okay. So we're doing some fall spices on this duck breast right now because we're hopping into autumn. So I've got things like nutmeg and cinnamon, cloves and star anise and cardamom. Really gonna jive in on those fall spices here right now. Think about Thanksgiving. And Leslie, you had mentioned something earlier about Thanksgiving this year.
So obviously with COVID and the fact that people can't gather in large crowds this year, many people have large families and they're not able to get together with their families. So maybe you're not going out and cooking a whole turkey for Thanksgiving. That may be too much for the family that you are with right now. So duck breast is a great alternative to that Thanksgiving meal if you don't want to cook a whole turkey. You could go with the duck breast.
I agree 100%. And actually, if you ask me, I would much prefer the duck breast than the turkey.
It's probably easier, isn't it? I mean,
well, it's certainly faster.
It's faster, and cooking a turkey is a big commitment.
It's certainly faster.
And the breast has enough fat, so no oil necessary.
No oil necessary, and I actually just put that into a cold pan. And so the reason I'm putting it into a cold pan is because I'm putting it in there with the skin side down, and I'm starting it off really slowly. And it's gonna cook like this for about 10 or 15 minutes. And what I'm doing there is I'm actually kind of rendering the fat out of the duck breast. So it's got a lot of fat there on the top part of it. And so what we're gonna do is make it nice and crispy. And so actually, as it's cooking, you'll see that some of those fats are gonna leave the duck breast and come out into the pan. And as it's cooking, Leslie is going to kind of watch it, and she's going to kind of baste the duck breast as it's cooking.
Okay.
So
with
it's not going to happen for a couple minutes.
Its own fat.
Exactly.
All right.
So it's a la turkey, where you baste your turkey.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen for a couple minutes.
No baster.
No baster.
And so this is like cooking duck breast 101 here right now, and we don't need an oven to do it. We're going to do everything in the pan right there.
And what do you have the heat on?
I have the heat on high right now.
High, okay.
So once it starts to like sizzle and starts to render out, we're going to reduce the heat down. But I'm kind of bringing it up here right now.
Okay. Can we go back to the spices for a second?
Yeah.
I noticed that you had. What did you do with that?
I put them in my fake dishwasher down here.
Okay, right, all right. But you have all the spices already pre-blended in here. Why did you do that and not just do a little bit of this, a little bit of that?
Well, I think that for one, it was like a little even coverage, and I think that for two also, like this is a good fall spice mixture that you can use again and again, not to get too like basic or anything on you, but like if you make a like latte sort of spicy fall spice sort of thing, you can use this. You can use it on butternut squash. You can use it on pumpkin, that sort of thing, roasted pumpkin. So it's like a good all-purpose fall spice mixture. And so in my recipe, we basically did all the spices separately, ground them or grated them, like nutmeg and anise in a spice grinder, and then we kind of mix it all together at the end.
All right.
So you can smell it right now.
You can smell it coming off.
Yeah, I can
almost
definitely smell it.
That apple pie almost.
Yeah.
You can start to smell it.
Are we getting a good shot of that, Dubai? Can everybody see that?
Yeah, you've got those kind of fall spices coming out there right now.
Right.
And so once it starts to sizzle, you can kind of hear it sizzling. I'm actually going to turn the heat down to about a medium. And we're just going to kind of keep an eye on it, right? So if I kept it on high the whole time, all those spices would burn.
Don't want to do that.
And then we ruin dinner, right? So we're not going to ruin dinner.
Should we talk about the wines that we've paired with this dish?
Let's definitely talk about the wines. I'm going to get Todd to get the sauce started.
All right.
And then he's going to talk all about the wines.
Okay, make him work because so
he's going to work.
Please,
you know,
I can
I've done all the
juggle.
work here.
He's going to be the saucier here right now. But before we get started, I think we have a question.
Oh,
Hey, Chef, Teresa from Connecticut just wants to know if you should pound your duck thinner before cooking it.
I never do. I mean, if you're in a hurry, I guess. But we're kind of not here right now.
Nope.
So I've never really pounded it out like that. So I think you might mess up the skin a little bit too.
Texture would change.
So we're gonna do saucier over here right now, which is appropriate for you because you've got the wine in front of you, so you can drink the sauce and make the sauce at the same time,
So
right?
while he's doing the saucier, I'm going to have some Chardonnay.
Deal. That's a deal, right? So you're gonna make the sauce for the duck breast right now.
Okay.
So we're doing a pomegranate sauce for fall. Add about half that butter into the pan.
Oh, a little bit more than half.
A little bit more than half in the shallots into the pan.
All?
Go ahead.
Good.
Go all in.
Deal.
Right there. And then you are going to, once they saute up a little bit, give it a minute or two. I'm going to season it with a little bit of salt.
Okay.
You're going to add the red wine of your choice to the pan.
Very good, Duck.
And that leads us into...
Well, I'm going backwards on that. You say once they sauce up, but we can talk about reds. We'll do Cabernet first to talk about it. Does anybody have a Cabernet open at home or in the room? I think we do. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, got to saute that a little bit. So you're all familiar with our Napa Cab. Great, you know, the 4 Cabernet properties. 2016, one of the Goldilocks vintages. Not too ripe, not too cold, just about perfect. Good production year. What's great about this, it's really only 4 years old, but it's just starting to get that great bottle age in it. It's been in the bottle for 2 years. It's starting to go, so it's just kind of a baby, but you can see that it's going to be a nice adult. Yeah, it's got some, you know, coincidentally, some of this spice too, this cinnamon from the barrel. So kind of fun wine.
I love the wines. I love how you paired with these wines,
Thank you.
Chef. I mean, fantastic.
So are we ready for some Petit Syrah?
We're ready.
And how much?
Say what? I would say about a half a cup, but you can go more than that, yeah.
So when we called
There you
Chef
go.
Nash and said, can you know, do a cooking demonstration with us on the flavors of fall? And I said, come up with the menu and then, and you know, we'll pair the wines to that. And he said, no. He said, you tell me which wines and I will pair the menu. And I thought, okay, great. So here's a list of the wines that we would like to showcase for fall, leading into fall. And this is the menu that you came up with. So I just think what a beautiful pairing.
Yeah, and Petit Syrah is one of these great fall winter wines. So that's our next wine that we added to the sauce. A little misunderstood, Petit Syrah. Not a lot planted in California or the world, mainly a blending variety, but a few of us in California like to make a little bit of it. We make this for our tasting room. We grow it on our ranch at S&J Vineyards, east of the Atlas Peak Range.
I'm not doing this. I'm sorry.
And
I'm showing you.
It's confusing because it's petite, meaning small, Syrah, meaning another variety. It's kind of really confusing because it's anything but small and anything but petite. It's a very dark, inky grape. You drop a grape on the ground and it's stained for life. You're not getting that stain out of there. So it was developed in France by a doctor, Francois Graff, who crossed a little-known French variety, Peloursin, with Syrah that we know a little bit better, the South of Rhone varietal, and came through, and somehow it came over to the United States through the immigrants, and it kind of took off in a little area. I was lucky enough to work with it in the 80s for Carl Domaney at the original Stag's Leap Winery, and that was our namesake wine. And when we got an opportunity to plant some vineyards at S&J, it just was a natural fit. We use a lot of it too to blend into our Zinfandel. But this is the pure expression of the Petit Syrah. And again, 4 years old. Petite ages really well. If you can let these run 10 to 15 years, you'll be rewarded really well. It's usually a big inky grape, but with age, it just comes around really well. This is tasting really great. It's fun when we make the wine and we go, wow, that's really good. Yeah.
So Todd, I have a question. Why did you decide to taste the Cabernet before the Petit Syrah? Because I find that the Cab typically, and correct me if I'm wrong, has maybe bigger, grippier tannins.
No. So with Petit Syrah, that's the one exception to the rule.
Okay.
Petit Syrah is a monster.
Yeah.
And that's the confusion, because this little name called Petite.
Nothing petite about it.
And there's nothing petite about it. It is a monster. And so it's got the grippiest tannins and the darkest color. So again, ageability, this is the one to forget about for 10 years if you can.
Good to know. That would explain why when Rich and I recently pulled out an 09, which was the first vintage we made Petit Syrah.
09, yeah.
It was fantastic. And now that I've said that, I don't know if we have any of that in Rich's cellar.
I know people.
I know, but we recently had, Rich recently opened his cellar and offered some of our library wines. And I was like, okay, you can do that, but don't give them all away because, we want to keep some for us too.
So Todd, I had a question for you too. Why did you choose the Petit Syrah to add to the sauce as opposed to the Cabernet?
It just, to me, screamed duck.
Okay.
Yeah, if this would have been a beef dish, maybe I would have, and maybe that's traditional, but a little more, duck, a little more game. Petit Syrah, a little more game, I think, and not as in cool. You got game, more as a bird.
I get it. Yeah. I gotcha.
So, so that was just kind of going off the seat of the pants.
So let's take a look at what Leslie's doing here right now with these duck breasts.
So
as they're cooking away on kind of a medium-low heat.
This way. Just taking the fat.
Yeah, there you go. She's taking kind of the renderings there from that duck breast, and she's basting the duck breast while it cooks. So we're not going to cook the duck breast on the flesh side very much. We're going to cook it mostly on the skin side. And so what she's doing here is she's keeping the duck moist, but she's also like slowly cooking it in the pan there at the same time. So it's kind of a cool technique. While Todd was talking about wines, I got our potato hash started over here. And so what I added to the pan was some pancetta. And so I added that to the pan with a little bit of olive oil. And I was just cooking that down a little bit. While we're rendering that down, I'm going to have Todd, who's the saucier again, get
Monsieur Saucier.
Get the sauce started for our dessert.
All right.
But first, I think we need to talk about a little bit of trivia questions.
Take it away, Kelsey.
It's our favorite time. Great. So I have a trivia question for you. I hope you guys are paying attention. And for this one, we are going to take the fourth correct answer. So the question is, why does Chef Nash cook the duck skin side down? The fourth correct answer. And put your answers in the chat box. All right. Okay. Looks like we have an answer. Fred Wanke to render the fat. Good job, Fred, and you will get a $100 gift certificate. And you'll hear from our marketing team early next week. Thanks for playing. Back to you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wow, people are paying attention to this
They
business,
are.
huh?
That was good.
Wow.
So we don't want to flip this, right? We don't want to flip
No,
that.
just we're gonna cook it
Just making sure.
literally for like 12 to 15 minutes. It's gonna stay on the skin, and like that's anyone who eats duck breast and enjoys duck breast, they're gonna tell you like the best part of the duck breast is the crispy skin on the duck breast. So if we're messing around with it too much and we're flipping it around and playing around with it, we're gonna not get that crispy skin. So, sorry Todd, but before we start your
It's okay.
sauce for the dessert, my pancetta is kind of rendered out here. You can see it's nice and crispy right now. So I'm gonna kind of take it out of here. Basically what I'm making here is a potato and pancetta hash. That's gonna be our accompaniment to our duck breasts. So once my pancetta's rendered out there, I've got the dripping still in the pan. What I do is, I add a little bit of butter, is what I do.
Is that about half?
More butter, more better.
I add a little bit of butter. Well, we're serving 4 people here with this, so I mean, you know. And I add some onions.
Oh, Kelsey, okay. I was like,
We're serving 4 people here today.
Rich is in the background. I mean, you know with this food, Rich is going to be here.
Yeah.
As long as we're cooking, Rich is going to
And if
show up
there's
at some
duck on the
point.
menu, he's definitely here.
Right? So I added some onions there to that pan too. I'm going to let those cook for a little bit and become soft. In the meantime,
How we doing here, Chef?
I think you can turn that off.
Yep, I would agree.
Let's turn that off and we'll wait and we'll finish it once the duck comes on. And let's get that little, what I call a gastrique started for our dessert. So what we're making here is, for dessert, like I said, we're gonna build all the components of all 3 dishes, and then we're gonna assemble all 3 dishes.
All the honey?
So, all the honey can go into the pan. You got a little spatula there next to you.
Yeah, you got that.
Or you can, like, you know,
Ah,
use your index finger, but you should use the spatula probably. And so we're gonna let that honey cook just for like 2 or 3 minutes until it starts to bubble and caramelize. And then we're gonna add balsamic vinegar into that. And this is kind of why I call that dessert Crazy Figs, because normally people don't eat balsamic vinegar with dessert. But you'll see why. It's like sweet, it's got that little balsamic-y acidity thing, and it's delicious. So while his honey's caramelizing, I'm gonna keep my potato hash rolling. You can see I cooked those onions until they're soft right there. You can see that butter and the pancetta drippings and everything like that. And how can that not taste good when we're starting it with that?
We're dipping into it.
Right? So I added a little bit of thyme into that, fresh thyme, a little bit of sage. So we're in autumn here, so I like to cook with like those,
delicious.
what I call like woodsy herbs in the autumn. In the summertime, you know, you cook a lot with basil, fresh tarragon, chervil, those kind of freshy, summery herbs. And in the fall, I like to cook a lot with rosemary, sage, thyme, kind of those more powerful herbs. So I added sage and thyme into that, and I added a little bit of chopped garlic in there as well. Just gonna let that cook for like a minute, or less than a minute, more like 20 seconds, just to kind of get that garlic going in the pan. So important that I added the onions first and cooked them, and then I added the garlic. If you add the onions and the garlic together, what you wind up with is undercooked onions and burned garlic, right? So, not a great combination right there. And so I'm gonna add my potatoes into the hash. So I chose to use 3 different kinds of potatoes. That's called a Yukon Gold potato. If you can't find that, you can substitute a russet instead. It's just kind of medium dice like that. And then I've got a sweet potato too, yams, right? I mean, perfect for holidays right there. Sweet potatoes. And then I've got these little purple potatoes too. I'm doing this like just to add some color to my hash so it looks nice at the end. Obviously, if you can't find purple potatoes, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to really affect the color all that much, or the flavor all that much, but it affects the color quite a bit.
Okay, what's the difference between a yam and a sweet potato?
Is this another trivia question?
Caller.
That's not a trivia question.
So, if you're asking me,
You owe us $100 if you know. Yeah.
if you're asking me, there's 2 kinds of sweet potatoes. There's a white sweet potato and a yam. So the yam has a higher sugar content to it, and the white sweet potato is like a little bit starchier and less sweet. So white sweet potatoes are like what a lot of times you make like sweet potato chips out of, that sort of thing. And then yams are what you use in like your baked yams with candied yams with, you know, for the holidays sort of thing, right? So I got those potatoes cooking a little bit. I'm gonna hang out and let them caramelize. In the meantime, I think you're just about ready to add that balsamic vinegar in there. Yep. I think you can turn the heat up.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead and crank the heat up to high, and I think what you're gonna do there is, here, just turn it to a click. There you go. So what he's making right now is a fancy word called Gastrique. It's like a base to a lot of French sauces. So it's equal parts vinegar and sugar. In this case, I'm using honey instead of sugar. And once again, we're talking about like that balance of flavor that we were discussing before. So this is acid and sweet is like a great combination.
And it just comes off. With the heat, that vinegar sure comes off.
Yeah, right? You got to step back for a second there.
So if somebody's doing this at home, to me, the toughest part about cooking is, number one, having patience, which not my strong point, and number two, timing, also not my strong point. So, I mean, it's all about the timing. How do you make sure that you're doing all this, you know, that this isn't overcooked when you're making that and you're making the fit? Like, how do you time it all out? To me, that's the key.
You want the real answer or you want the Nash Cognetti answer? So,
whichever one you want to give.
Nash Cognetti would say, I spent the last 20 years in the kitchen, dedicated my life to the craft.
Well, obviously you have it figured out, but to us at home, us less skilled people.
Yeah, no, I would say, you know, for me, and it's the same in a restaurant kitchen, the more you can get done ahead of time, the better, right? So that's why we like make that walnut vinaigrette ahead of time. If we wanted to make those sauces ahead of time, we totally could. If we want to get those potatoes going on ahead of time, we totally could. I mean, really the only thing that you're concerned about overcooking here is that duck breast.
Right.
And you can see it's like, I mean, it's pretty forgiving at this point since the heat's on low, right?
Is it cooked yet?
No. If you look at the top of it, you can see like it's still pretty raw there at the top, pretty rare there at the top.
Right.
So we're just going to let it go.
Basting a little more here.
Yeah, just keep on doing what you're doing. Once my potatoes kind of caramelize up in there a little bit, I'm going to add a little bit of water to it. And so what I'm doing here is I'm kind of steaming those potatoes. I'm going to cover it. I'm just going to let those cook for 4 or 5 minutes, and while that's happening, let's have my friend Todd talk a little bit about the wine that's going with dessert.
The Crazy Figs.
Crazy Figs and port.
All right, well, this is one of the most fun wines to talk about. So we do a little port-style wine. All that is basically a fortified wine. Started in Portugal. I spent 5 years of my youth creating a craft or developing a craft in Portugal. And so port, you make a still wine, and in the middle of the fermentation, you add brandy to it. It was developed for transport in the old days from the mainland Europe over to England. And now it's a great style of wine. So we make this. We make it in more of a multi-vintage. There's vintage and there's tawnies, and this is kind of in the middle. Predominantly Zinfandel for us, a little Petit Syrah. So you saw the Petit Syrah earlier. And then this is aged anywhere from 5 to 10 years in barrels. So it's a great, you get this nuttiness. There'll be a little hint of vinegar, not a lot, but a hint of it, but nutty. The sweetness will be the honey. Again, we're going to get Chef Nash to write the tasting notes because he nailed this one too. And again, and then the fruits are plum, they're fig. You know, they're not fresh fruits, they're more of the dried fig, like dried fig, prune. And so this will go great with the dessert.
So Todd, this is a non-vintage.
Correct. And there's a couple different styles of port. Vintage ports are declared within the first year or two. You bottle them within the second year. And those are the ones you put away for your grandchild's wedding or something special occasion. They last forever. Then there's the tawnies that are the 10, the 20, the 30, the 40. They're the brown, they're nutty. Those are the ones you open and you leave on the mantle and you have a glass a night for the next month. And this is kind of in the middle. It's kind of a hybrid. It's got the fresher fruit, but it has done some aging for you. So this you can open up and it'll sit on the mantle for weeks, if not a month.
Awesome. So, while Todd was talking about port, we came close here, and we took Leslie's duck breasts, and we took them and we flipped them over, and we just kissed them on the other side for maybe about a minute and 30 seconds, right? And then we took them off the heat. And so you're talking about timing right now, Leslie. Now would be the time, A, you would have a glass of wine and sit back and say, I'm doing pretty good so far. I got my stuff here together. My buddy Todd's watching that sauce reduction right now. He's gonna let it come down by about 3/4, maybe about another 2 minutes on that sauce reduction. Our duck breast is cooked. Our salad's good to go. I put a pan on the heat here because we're gonna cook some Brussels sprouts. That's gonna be our accompaniment to our main course. We've got duck breast with Brussels sprouts, that potato and pancetta hash, and that pomegranate sauce that we're going to finish in a second. In the recipe, that duck breast or the Brussels sprouts, we blanched them for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we laid them out on a sheet tray on towels just to dry them off. So, we're almost ready to assemble everything.
Okay.
Our duck breasts are resting right there. Our potato hash, as we pull off the lid, you can see that those potatoes have cooked and steamed.
Do you want to stir that at all or not?
Yeah. I'm going to stir it right now for a second. Bring it together. And then at the end, I'm going to add a little bit of heavy cream. We never said that we are cooking low-fat dishes for autumn. We just said that we are cooking dishes for autumn, right? So if you paid close attention to the ingredients in that hash, you can already see that there's nothing low fat in there because we started it with pancetta and then we added butter and now we're adding cream, right? So
A lot of flavor, a lot of deliciousness.
people say, Nash, why does restaurant food taste so good? Why does restaurant food
Butter,
taste so
cream,
good?
salt.
Say, well, it might have something to do with some of that.
Yeah.
So to assemble the salad, what I'm going to do here is we've got the vinaigrette ready to go. We've got our organic autumn lettuces here in this bowl that I covered up just to make sure we didn't mess it up at all.
Organic autumn lettuces.
And then I've got some pears. I think pears are an awesome thing for the fall too. I was going to have Leslie do a julienne on these, but I figured I'd let her off the hook right now and I would do the julienne on
You really
them.
want to give me possession of that knife?
I figured I would let her off the hook right now and I would do the julienne on them myself. So,
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
yeah. So, once again, we'll just do this really quick since we have a second here while our hash is cooking and our Brussels sprouts are getting ready to go into that hot pan. Anytime I take a knife and I put my hand on the knife, you know, I don't know if you can get a shot of this or not, but you know, a lot of people when they go to put their hand on whatever they're cutting, they put their hand on it like this. They go to grab it like
I'm
this.
guilty of that.
Right? So it's probably the worst thing that you could do because then that little piece of your finger is really exposed.
Yep, done
so
that.
if anyone cuts their hand at home, or you cut your finger at home, you usually cut this part of your finger, right? So what we do in the kitchen is we make sure that never happens, and we take that part of our finger and we put it behind, and we put this part of our hand in front, right? And so we kind of make like a little claw or a little wall
Right.
to make sure that there's no way I'm going to cut my thumb.
Right.
It's actually, if you look at what I'm doing here, it's actually impossible that I would ever cut my thumb while I'm doing that. Watch, I say that and I cut my thumb right now. No, but it's impossible that I would ever cut my thumb while I'm cutting those pears because it's all tucked all the way back. In fact, it would be impossible for me to cut my fingers at all.
Are you watching that,
While I'm
Rich?
cutting those pears.
Are you paying attention to that part? Yeah, because he did this 2 nights ago.
But it's
We
okay.
were slicing tomatoes. You talk about the tomatoes. We're end of
Yeah.
season, but we picked some out of the garden that were still beautiful.
Yeah.
And I went to cut them out. He said, no, I'll do it. Move out of the way. I'll do it. And guess what? Cut his thumb.
And guess what? So, Rich, if you just
But he's
watch
never
that,
done anything like that before.
No, never.
Has he? No?
I think you're done on that one. You
Yeah.
can just turn it off. Yeah. So, if you just watch what I was doing there, Rich, covering that up so it doesn't splatter on you,
Okay.
because those are Brussels sprouts
Yeah.
that we blanched in water. So they still have, even though we dried them off on that towel, they're still going to have a little bit of water content in there. You can see my pan was pretty hot when I put them in there, hence them sizzling away.
And how long do you blanch for?
I blanch those for like 2 minutes.
So boiling water, drop them in, pull them out.
Pull them out.
And
I
then
didn't
ice bath them, or?
No, I didn't even put them in ice.
Yeah.
Because like Brussels sprouts are one of those things that like, you know, if it's asparagus or something, you want to like keep it fresh and keep it like bright and ready to go. But if it's Brussels sprouts, you want to cook them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't bother me that Brussels sprouts aren't verdant green. It's okay that, you know, they kind of look like that.
And
So
are these going to be crispy?
these are going to be crispy because we're just going to leave them in this pan. You can see I'm not messing with them right now.
Yep.
I'm just going to leave them in there
Okay.
while we finish the sauce and we assemble the salad.
Got it.
So first let's finish this sauce. You can see that he reduced that wine down quite a bit. Here, I don't even think we're gonna need it.
All right, cool.
So I'm adding this, what's called pomegranate molasses to it. And so this is actually something that you can purchase in the store. It's very inexpensive. And basically what this is, it's pomegranate juice reduced down until the sugars caramelize and it winds up being like molasses. So I'm gonna turn that on for you. There you go.
Want on low or high?
Right where it is fine. And so we're gonna add some pomegranate seeds too into that. And Todd, why don't you tell us where the pomegranate seeds came from?
You know, that's going to be part of our quiz later. No, not an official quiz. No, but we have a gentleman that may or may not show up that has a couple pomegranate trees in his vineyard property. And maybe he'll talk about some figs off his property too. Can't say he will or will not, but that's just a guess.
Okay, I gotcha. So we'll hold off on that.
Yes, that's just a tease. What do you call that in the
That's exactly what it is. It's a tease.
a little lead-in?
Yes.
So you want to add the remaining butter to that sauce right now too?
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah. Like I said, we said we were cooking for the holidays. We never said we were cooking
Low cal.
low-cal here for autumn, right?
No.
So you just kind of want to keep that sauce swirling around a little bit. And then what I like to do at the end there too, because you've got that like sweetness of the pomegranate and you've got the sweetness of the pomegranate molasses, just add like a splash of the raw wine to it.
And do I get a choice of flavor?
Well, you started with Petit Syrah.
So stay with it, okay.
So you probably want to keep with Petite Syrah. I'm talking about like a tablespoon, just like a little splash in there, just to give it, there you go, just to like kind of bring it together. When we taste it at the end, you can kind of taste that raw wine style in there too.
What is the official fig season? Because we meaning Frank family, we have two probably 100-year-old fig trees on our Benjamin vineyard, right on the flats of Rutherford, and they're starting to become ready now.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the sort of official fig season?
So there's actually 2 seasons for figs. You can get, at least in Northern California, you can get figs in July, late June, and like around 4th of July. Certain fig trees, depending upon what the spring was like, as long as there wasn't a frost, will give you figs in July. So you can get what they call a first crop fig in July. And then it goes through a period of dormancy, and then you get what's called a second crop fig, and that usually happens right now, in like September and October.
Okay.
Kind of like those fall figs.
Right.
And so for me, we were talking about a teaser there before. For me, the figs in July are a teaser. Because you're like, oh, it's figs, and you eat them, and you're like, but they're not so sweet.
Still have that green,
you
a
know?
little bit harder, yeah.
It's kind of like your first tomatoes of the season.
Exactly.
You're like,
yeah.
they're not that good.
And as a winemaker, there's one season. It's the fall season.
It's the fall season.
No good vineyard is great without a fig tree near it, because you got to sample the grapes and you got to eat the figs. So you can always tell a great vineyard by what figs are there.
Once the butter melts in there, you can turn it straight off.
And what about pomegranate season?
Pomegranate season is like October, November, December.
Okay.
So we're like just in
We're
the very
just-
beginning of it right
Just
now.
entering
What's great
into
about that, they'll age on your counter too, really well. So
By the way, this is purely aesthetics and has nothing to do with cooking, but to have a bowl on your countertop or on a table with a bunch of pomegranates is just, it's so aesthetically beautiful, and just a pop of color that speaks to fall. getting into the whole,
And give
kitchen
them to
decor
a kid
thing.
and just let it watch it go all over their face. Yeah.
But they look beautiful just together in a bowl. They're great.
I agree. And it's good to pick them. It's good you said that, Todd, because if you have pomegranate trees, you want to get them before the birds do, because the birds love pomegranates. So I think we're ready to rock here, okay?
Okay.
Because we've got all of our salad components ready. We've got all of our entree components ready. We've got our sauce for our entree. And then at the very end, I'm going to show you guys how to put that dessert together. So I'm going to just season that salad with a little bit of salt, a little bit of black pepper. I'm going to add my pears into that. So if you want to do this with a pair of tongs, you can do it with a pair of tongs. In the kitchen, we always do it with gloved hands. But since we're just hanging out here right now, I'm just going to do it with my hand. I'm going to show you guys a proper way to toss a salad. What I added in there was the celery root. So remember before we were talking about a balance of flavor?
Yeah.
Sweetness from the pear. Celery naturally has a little bit of bitterness.
And how did you get the celery root to be this thin? What did you do? All by
I spent
hand?
20 years in the kitchen.
I know, but we're not as talented as you. So how would I do this at home?
Slowly.
Do I need to buy some kind of device that shreds
Slowly.
it?
A knife.
Slowly. A sharp
A
knife.
sharp one.
A sharp knife. And just do it slowly and make sure you don't cut your fingers
All right.
off. So if you hand me that spoon right there,
I can do that.
I'm going to show you how we toss a salad in a restaurant. So
Only one spoon.
we made our vinaigrette. Only one spoon. We made our vinaigrette right here. It's got the walnuts in it, and if you recall, the honey, the whole grain mustard, the walnut oil, the olive oil. And so when I add it to the bowl, instead of dumping it on top of the salad, when I add it to the bowl, I kind of do a little bit of one of these around the bowl. See, so I'm not actually dressing the salad right now. I'm actually dressing the bowl, and I kind of add it around there, okay? And then what I do is I toss my salad through that dressing that's coating the side of the bowl right now. And so what I'm making sure I'm doing while I'm doing this is I'm not over dressing it. It's a rule of thumb in a kitchen that says you can always add more, but you can never add less.
Right.
So,
And I will tell you that I have had that happen even in some finer restaurants where it's too much dressing. The salad's overdressed. It overpowers everything else in the salad.
Totally. And so if you look at the salad and you say it needs a little bit more dressing, cool. You can add a little bit more dressing to it. But if you look at the salad and you say, oh no, it's ruined.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah.
You ruined it. So that's why I say you can always add more, you can never add less.
The key thing also at home is use a big bowl.
Use a big bowl.
Yeah, use a big bowl.
Exactly.
You don't want it all over the floor.
That's right. So you can see on my salad there, I've got that, when I plated it, like I said, you can use a gloved hand or tongs or something like that. You can see when I plated it, I made sure to get some lettuce in there, made sure to get some of those pears in there, made sure to get some of those walnuts in there. What I do at the end is I take some of those walnuts that were hanging out in that vinaigrette that are like coated in the oil, and I make sure I put a couple of those on that salad as well. And then we talked about that
Frozen.
frozen Humboldt Fog goat cheese. You can see it's got that blue vein that runs through the center of it. So when we complete the salad, what we do is we shave that on there. And so if you've ever had a salad with goat cheese in it, and you're eating the salad, and then all of a sudden you get like one of those big clumps of goat cheese, it's like, it's not light.
Yeah.
It's not aesthetically pleasing. It's not orally nice, because then you get this big clump
That's
of
what
cheese
you call
in
too
your
much
salad.
texture.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what I do when I add goat cheese to salads is this cool trick where I freeze it, right? And then I shave it on top of the salad once it's frozen. Well, it unfroze a little bit, but anyway, you kind of get the point here. And so when I freeze it on top of there, when I freeze it and shave it on top of there, like that, you don't get any of those big clumps of goat cheese. You get kind of more like a little snowfall of goat cheese.
And you've got the rind in there as well.
I get the rind in there too. And then so, you know, this is a soft cheese naturally. So you could never take this cheese and put it on a microplane and shave it like that. But since we put it into the freezer, you can kind of shave that goat cheese on there like you would Parmesan cheese. And it's a little bit more, you know, it's a little bit nicer in your salad. It's a little bit lighter right there in your salad, right?
And presentation means so much, particularly when you're at a restaurant. Well, when you're at home too, and you're serving dinner to guests. Presentation is everything. One thing I learned, obviously about putting the dressing around the bowl, but you didn't mix up the salad first. You mixed up the salad as you were adding the dressing.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to beat it up too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I didn't think about it that much, Leslie.
But I always mix everything up, and then I drizzle the dressing on it, and I mix it up, and I use 2 spoons, and I toss it like this. I mean, that's the way I was taught,
Yeah.
you know, how you toss a salad that way. This is very interesting. I learned something new.
Yeah, and Todd brought up a good point, too, that my salad bowl was twice as large as the volume of my salad. So you're not like,
How do I
Yeah.
trying to
toss
struggle
this
and
without-
beat it up and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
So-
All right, before we get to
Go
that,
ahead.
we have comments and questions. Kelsey, take it away.
Yes, we have a few comments and questions from our viewers at home. Dennis Sadomka is with us from Augusta, Georgia. He says he already tried out all of these recipes and they are great, easy to follow, and his wife especially loves the crazy figs. Krista Spreacher is with us from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and she made the salad for dinner tonight. It was fabulous with the Chardonnay. Thank you both for joining us today. Chef, we have a question for you. We want to know, Jeff and Julie from McLean would like to know which pan you use for cooking the duck breast in.
So, you know what? It's a good question. For me, it's more about technique than it is the actual pan. I use just a Teflon pan. But you can use any good quality saute pan. If you had a cast iron pan, it would certainly work, or a rolled steel pan, it would certainly work. Copper, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're not using like something that's super cheap. You know, I remember the first thing that I did when I took over as chef at Trevigny in 2005 was I got rid of every saute pan in the kitchen, and I bought all new, brand new stainless steel saute pans. And the guys in the kitchen were really upset with me because it was tougher to lift them up because they were heavier. And they said, ah. And one guy actually went outside, he went into the garbage, and he pulled out some of the old aluminum pans that were all wavy and beat up and everything like that. He took them, he put them in his locker, and I said, no, we're not cooking with those anymore. We're cooking with real stainless steel pans that are heavy and you can actually cook with them.
Right.
So as long as you're using a good quality saute pan, it's a long-winded answer to the question. It doesn't really matter.
And Chef, can you talk a little bit about the tool that you use to shave that goat cheese?
Yeah, it's a microplane, and it's just a fine grater. It was actually first invented for woodworking. If you're like making furniture and that sort of thing. It's called a rasper, and they would use it to like shave down wood, and then the guys decided that it was also really good for grating cheese. I know it sounds weird.
But will we
And
be
I'm
able
sure
to
that they've
find that
made-
in a cooking store?
You find it
Yeah,
anywhere.
oh,
Okay.
everywhere.
Oh,
Amazon.
yeah, totally.
Right.
Zest your
Yeah, okay.
limes and your
Totally.
lemons. Yeah.
They'll have like 20 different kinds of microplanes. I'm sure that the guys have made billions of dollars selling the
Yes.
microplane for food, whereas they probably made hundreds of dollars selling the microplane for making furniture. But yes, it's called a microplane. So.
Kelsey, trivia question?
Absolutely, let's do it. All right, we're gonna take the 5th person on this one, the 5th person to answer. And I hope you were paying attention because this is a tricky one as well. What is the original name of Petit Syrah? Looking for the 5th answer in the chat section.
That was the tough one.
It is, and while what you don't see from home, but what we get to see is we're on Main Street, St. Helena, and what's great is there's trucks going by with grapes in it, and I mean harvest is amongst us. So there's trucks with two bins of grapes. There's trucks with 40 bins of grapes on it. It's everybody's in the middle of harvest, and it's fun. So this is Chef Nash's view for these 2 months is just hearing and seeing grapes clumber down the highway and the main street, which is the highway. Yeah.
Once I see the trucks start to stack up, I start to think, oh, I have to be at Rich and Leslie Frank's house at 5:30 today to cook a dinner party. It looks like the traffic is stacking up
Small,
right now.
socially distanced dinner party.
Maybe I should get out of here right now and get over to their house. So anyway,
Do we have a winner?
The winner is Nancy Bourne.
All right.
Good job,
Congratulations,
Nancy.
Nancy. Good job.
Can you spell Darif?
There were a couple misspellings in the
That's okay.
but she got it. She got it.
That's great. Okay.
Wow, that's a new one for me too. I learned something new there too. So you want to do a duck breast? Let's plate a duck breast.
Okay.
So I've got that potato hash that all came together. I mixed that pancetta back into it at the very end.
Really good.
So I've got the sweet potatoes, I've got those purple potatoes, I've got the pancetta in there, the onions, the garlic, the thyme, the sage, and then I finished it with a little bit of cream, and I finished it with that cream, one for flavor, but also two is like a binder there.
Okay.
So when I put it on the plate, kind of binds together a little bit there on that plate, like that, right? And then I had those Brussels sprouts that I blanched, and then I cooked them in that pan until they got like crispy. I actually like them like a little bit charred like that, you know what I mean?
I do too.
They get a little charred, and then, you know, the leaves on them get that like crispy leaf and that sort of thing. I mean,
And you
for
could,
me-
you wouldn't because you've got the pancetta in the potato dish, but you could add some pancetta if you were doing Brussels sprouts.
Oh
with
yeah,
that.
for sure. Oh yeah, Brussels sprouts with pancetta and onions. That's like a match made in heaven right there. So we cooked for 4. All these recipes are designed for 4, but I'm just going to plate for 1 here so we can take a look at it. So I've also got that duck breast, that fall duck breast that Leslie cooked. Rich, by the way, that
Well,
Leslie cooked.
I helped.
I'm ready to
I
So-
basted.
taste.
So next time when you want duck breast for dinner, Leslie knows how to cook a perfect duck breast. You can see that skin is nice and crispy on it.
Rich likes
see,
his
like as I'm
more
going
on
through
the
there.
rare side.
Yeah. So
look at
you
that.
brought up a great point there, Leslie. So wild ducks, I always cook them like rare. In fact, if you don't mind, I'll quote my friend Charlie Wagner from Camus.
Yeah, he's our
And-
friend too.
Who said when we were talking about how to cook wild ducks, he said, I want my duck cooked as rare as possible and serve it to me with only candlelight. And I said, why am I serving it to you with only candlelight? And he said, so that my dining companion doesn't realize how rare it is. And I said, oh, okay, interesting, because his wife didn't want to eat the raw,
Yeah.
the rare duck. I said, oh, okay, that's interesting. So these are farm-raised ducks.
Now I know that trick, so don't try to get me to eat rare
These are
duck.
farm-raised ducks. These are domesticated ducks. So I like to cook that duck a little bit more on the medium rare side because I think that a domesticated duck, unlike a wild duck that's flying north and south at this time of year, they don't fly. And so I like it a little bit more on the medium rare side because it's a little bit less chewy.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
makes perfect sense.
So, but I've got that nice duck breast that I cooked and I rendered the skin out of that duck breast. Then I've got that pomegranate sauce
I'm checking
that the
it out.
saucier made right now.
Rich makes his appearance just in time for the food,
I've
ladies
been
and
watching,
gentlemen.
checking out.
And so we've got that pomegranate
pretty.
sauce that we put on there as well.
Yeah.
And so that's like an autumn
That's
plate
beautiful.
right there. I mean,
That's
if you're
beautiful.
going to eat that for Thanksgiving, that's a
It
Thanksgiving
takes
dish right
20
there.
years to casually pour it and make it look exactly like that.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous.
So I just want to show our salad starter
That looks fantastic.
with the walnut dressing and the goat cheese and the pear and the celery root. And there you go.
Fig.
What do you think
That's
about those
beautiful.
crazy figs? Ready for crazy
We're ready.
figs?
I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
Do we
turn the-
need to go
need
back
to turn
warm
the heat
again?
Back on. And we're going to do some crazy figs over
Let
here.
that. Here's
All right, shall we, well, you're getting prepared for that. We have one more trivia question.
All right, last trivia question. This time we're looking for the third right answer. What is fig season?
What time of year is fig season?
All right, let's put
two
your
answers to win.
2 answers.
All right, and we're actually looking for a double answer on this one.
Oh no, we can.
All right, you guys are so smart. You answer so fast.
$100 gift certificate to use on our website, frankfamilyvineyards.com, towards the purchase of wine or merchandise on our site.
I have the answer if nobody else does.
I think
We're going to add a
we've got
splash
it.
of port to that too.
see. All right, I think we've got it.
Just
with
like we did with the
June,
other sauce.
July, and fall, Diane Casano. Congratulations, Diane. Good
Okay,
job.
congratulations, Diane. She was paying attention. Thanks,
A lot
Diane.
of people were. We have a smart crowd.
I didn't realize, by the way, as you were talking about all the different things we have, of the pear trees we have that should just come in.
Right.
The fig trees, literally, if you walk under them now, they're falling.
They're
on you.
falling.
It's just so
They're delicious.
unbelievable this time of year. It's like perfect match. Yes, we're done with the tomatoes, but there's always something new coming on. And that's the beauty of cooking for the season.
So tell us, Rich, since you're here, tell us about the figs from Benjamin.
Well, I can tell you that every time I walk by, I grab a handful. They don't fall on me. We have two unbelievable 100-plus-year-old trees that are just every year give us this unbelievable bounty of them. What I love to do with them is I like to just pick them up because we like to barbecue at home a lot. And if whatever I'm cooking, I love to just wash the outside, cut them in half, put them on the grill for about 30 seconds if the grill's hot, and you have candy. I mean, it goes with almost, if you're having ribs, if you're having chicken wings, if you're having a great steak, it doesn't matter. It's a great side accompaniment
Right.
to it. And
They
I just love
caramelize.
it.
They're so delicious.
Yeah,
Serve
yeah.
that with a little burrata cheese and a balsamic vinegar. It's delicious.
And I like at that point a little Zinfandel.
Right.
I always like a little
Right.
Zinfandel. It's like anything near a grill. But this is phenomenal.
So Todd's doing dessert over there. He just mixed the figs inside of that balsamic and honey reduction there. And you can see he's just warming them up inside there, just like you talked about on the grill, Rich. So we don't want to cook the figs right now. Figs are in season right now. They're sweet enough on their own. We just want to warm them up so you can turn the heat off there, Todd. And then right to your right, you're going to see that there's some freshly cracked black pepper. And this is why I call them the crazy figs. Because this is kind of to taste, and I like to add a...
Oh, good technique, Todd. That's
How much
good.
more? There you go. So I like to add a lot of black pepper to this because this is like a weird dessert that you wouldn't think works, but somehow works. And add like a little bit of sea salt to that too. And I like to add a little sea salt to all my desserts, even chocolate cake, because I think that dessert without salt is kind of like has no soul. It needs a little something there.
The first time
Sweet
I
and
met
savory.
you said to me, butter, salt. That's what you
Yeah.
said to me.
Wow.
And I got it right away.
Butter and salt. So then Todd's got some vanilla ice cream right next to him right there. So good quality vanilla ice cream. Oh, you're in charge now, my friend. You got crazy figs going on top of that vanilla ice cream. If you're doing this with the Frank family port, also too, what Todd did was he
This is a
added
serving
like
for one.
a little splash of port wine into them at the end there too. And so you can finish that with a little bit of mint leaves that are over there. So I love mint I'm not putting mint on my desserts for aesthetic purposes. Like, you remember they used to do in the 1980s when they
You
put
just
the
really
little...
love the flavor.
Well, you weren't even around in the 80s. You were a young
Oh, no,
pup.
no, I really was.
And they used to put the little mint leaves on the dessert as a garnish, right? Because you can eat the mint at the end of your meal and freshen your breath.
Yeah.
But this actually is for real flavor purposes because you can get that mint leaf with
gorgeous.
the black pepper and the figs and the balsamic vinegar and vanilla ice cream. And that to me is like, that's like a chef's dessert right there, you know?
I have a whole new appreciation of Todd being able to put this together.
Being
So
able
can
to
we
follow
set that up
instructions.
as-
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Here we go.
This is the first time I could follow instructions.
This is the favorite thing I've ever
This-
done
this
cooking-wise.
is really
And
great.
I can't wait till we go after the air and I jump in on some of this stuff.
Well, we're about to wrap up now because we've gone over our hour, but this has been fantastic, and I've really learned a lot today, so thank you.
Cool.
Don't
And I will-
test me on it, but
I'm going to show the chef the cut on my finger from
Right.
last week.
Yeah,
I learned
exactly.
something today.
And the burn on the ear.
Yeah.
That's a different-
Yeah.
That's another story.
there's a reason why we let Rich eat, but we keep him kind of out of the kitchen.
The hits keep coming.
saying. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, no, we're just teasing you, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the folks who are local, or if you are planning a trip to Napa, make sure you go to Pizzeria Treviña. That is Chef's restaurant in town. You are doing a killer business. I mean, as much as you can, but you can do 25% inside, and you have that beautiful outdoor seating
patio
area,
outside
big patio, the best pizzas in town, amazing pastas and salads, and what am I forgetting?
No, you're nailing it.
Okay.
The mozzarella made the order.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
the mozzarella
How could I
menudo.
forget the mozzarella?
Yeah.
That might be one of the best things
Those-
on the planet. Okay, the crostini with the fresh made mozzarella and
And-
the olive oil drizzled over and the sea salt. Oh, okay.
We never have any
So
event
good.
that you cater that doesn't
I
start
know.
with
Mozzarella.
the mozzarella and the pizzas.
Yep.
So in St.
Great.
Helena, Pizzeria Treviña, it's a must stop if you're in town or if you're coming to town. So thank you very much, Chef Nash, for your time today. Best of luck to you, Trey Posty, catering and
Fun.
events. You'll be back up. We're looking forward to 2021.
And Todd's up at 3 in the morning again tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks.
To get
Yeah.
the grapes in, because we're harvesting. We've, smoke's moved out of Napa. The fires are hopefully at bay.
Yep.
It's harvest time, and like Todd said, this is our time of year.
It's the most exciting
And
time in the valley.
We
And
start picking early in the morning because it's cooler, and we want to get the grapes in while it's cool. It's also easier for those in the field. But Todd is keeping himself, goes to bed early because he's up early every morning getting it done every day. It's just a great time of year.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today,
See ya.
and stay tuned for our emails on our next virtual tasting in a couple of weeks from now. And I do want to give a quick plug, because on October 3rd, we are partnering with SIP. That is Songwriters in Paradise. And if you haven't received the email, please go to our website and check out under the events that we're doing. And that is it's a virtual concert with some amazing singers and songwriters, most of them based in Nashville. Of course, in this virtual world, we can connect with anybody, anywhere. And we'll be pairing our wines to go along with that concert, the various concert performers. There are 3 artists that are performing, and that's October 3rd, 4 p.m. Pacific time, and you don't want to miss that. There is a charge for tickets. It's $100 that you would buy to watch that concert, but that money doesn't go to us. It goes to the Songwriters in Paradise. And much like catering events has slowed down a lot this year, these singer and songwriters haven't been able to perform, so they make their living, and so we want to do what we can to help them, because when they come to Napa, they do perform and they're phenomenal, so you don't want to miss that. All right, that's it. Chef Nash, you are the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
to everyone
buddy.
at home, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.